Guess what time it is? It's story time! Today I want to tell you the story about the time I came home from school only to find out that my family and I were moving across the country. I was in grade 2 at the time, and like I just said, I just gotten out of school. My mom was picking me up, and she told me that we were moving. Now, there was nothing strange about this. My family has always been a bit nomadic, and I was quite accustomed to moving from place to place when I was younger, so I thought nothing of it. But then I found out we weren't just moving to another street or another apartment building. We were actually moving all the way across the country. See, at this point, I lived in Montreal, which is where I was born. And I was told by my father that we were moving to a place called Vancouver, a place I'd never heard of. And to my surprise, I was also told that people in Vancouver don't speak French, that I was going to have to learn a brand new language. Now, I was very naive and very innocent, and I didn't know much about the world, so in my mind's eye, I envisioned myself living in Asia and learning, Japanese or something. I had no concept of where I was going, no clue of what any of this meant, but I was on board because I didn't really have a choice. So it was interesting. We packed a few suitcases and we left most of our belongings behind, and we hopped on a Greyhound bus and proceeded to drive 6 days across this great land of ours, this mighty nation. And eventually we got to Vancouver, and we stayed in a hotel for probably a month. And then my parents decided, you know what? Vancouver's not good enough. There's not enough work here. It's too big. Doesn't make sense. So we caught a ferry boat. We crossed the Juan de Fuca Strait, and we came to a place called Vancouver Island, to a town called Victoria, which is the capital of British Columbia, which is where I reside currently, and where I've resided for the last 20 some odd years of my life. So why am I telling you this story? And what does it have to do with the art of living and philosophy and wisdom and taking charge of your life? This do-it-yourself help approach that I am trying to spread through these videos. Like I said before, I want to tell you these types of stories because I feel that they will give you insight into where I'm coming from and why I am the way that I am. And I think that part of my outsider's mentality, the way that I self-identify as an outsider, I think that me being moved from one place to another at a moment's notice and not knowing the language and being totally foreign, I think this contributed to my outsider's mentality, because I really was an outsider. When I came to Victoria, when I finally got some stability in my life and I started attending school, I was a total outsider. I didn't speak English. I didn't know anybody in the class. I was the new guy, and I think that had probably a formative impact on me. I also think that knowing 2 languages has played a part in my mindset as well. Because as I've said in previous videos, your language shapes your reality. And if you know 2 languages and you can speak and think in 2 languages, then in a sense, you inhabit 2 realities at the same time. And I think the ability to switch from one to the other at a moment's notice creates this flexibility in the mind, and it's exactly this type of flexibility that is required on the path of the spiritual truth seeker. If you're rigid, if you're dogmatic, if you are set in stone and you are looking for the capital T truth at the expense of all the other falsehoods, then you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to think you got to the end of the journey, but in reality, you haven't even left the front door yet. You're still trapped in the house of ignorance that you've been living in your whole life. Now, when I say you, I actually mean me, because I'm talking about myself. But having that flexibility and the ability to step in and out of different languages and different perspectives, I think that really helped me. And I think it's one of the contributing factors to my cubicle epiphany. It's pure speculation at this point, but I like to psychoanalyze myself and look at my past and try to speculate about the different factors which have shaped me and made me who I am. So I thought I would share that little story with you. Have you ever been moved around? Have you ever been in a place where you were a total outsider, where you were a cultural outsider, linguistic outsider? I'd like to hear your stories, so please share them with me in the comments below. Until next time, live well, my friends.